Hello, welcome to Do It Yourself with Wayne. Today we're going to talk about blueberries. Now I've been trying to grow blueberries here at my house for a number of years, and I've had some successes and I've had some failures and disappointments, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. To start with, down here in front of my house, you can't hardly see them, but there's 7 plants down through there. They were planted in 2022. These right here in these grow bags and the red pot were planted last year in 2024. Now, they're all different varieties. Well, these are different varieties. Those down there are different varieties. And you get different varieties so they harvest at different times, which extends your harvest season. And I bought all my plants as 2-year-old plants. I bought them from Joyner Blueberry Farm, which is in Blues Creek, North Carolina, which is just north of Winston-Salem. So if you need plants and it's not too long of a drive, I highly recommend those folks. I put a link to their Facebook page down in the description so you can find out what days they're open and that sort of thing. But I do highly recommend Joyner Blueberry Farm. But anyway, some of the problems I've run across: pH of the soil, lack of sun, powdery mildew on the limbs, and birds. And those are the things I'm going to talk about. Now, the ones down here in front of my house, when I first planted them, I didn't know about checking the pH of the soil. That was new to me at that time. And those plants didn't do well the first 2 years I had them down there. They would have a few blueberries, but hardly a handful between all 7 plants. They just did not do well. I started learning more, and I know they didn't get enough sun, but they also had the wrong pH of the soil. So I bought a Bluelab's pH pen for testing the soil pH, and the soil down there was around 7.0 for most of that area, which is way too high. These down through here, when I planted those last year, I had just bought my soil pH pen from Bluelab's, and I was testing the soil as I was going along. And for me, the best thing for reducing the soil pH is sulfur. It's inexpensive, it works well, it just works slow. So it's not going to change it real quick. It's not going to happen within a week or two, but it will change it. If you use the sulfur, you need to test at least a couple of times a year. I try to do spring and fall at this point. And you do something to test the pH and adjust based on what you find. There are other things that you can do to reduce the sulfur or the pH value of your soil, but I found the sulfur works well for me. Next thing is sun. Those down there don't get near enough sun. That's one of the reasons they don't do well. So between the high pH and the lack of sun, they're just not going to do well down there. Since I adjusted the pH, they did a lot better last year, but still they're not getting the sun they need. Now these down through here, I started out with the pH adjusted, and they got plenty of sun. And the first year for me, which actually I guess they were 3-year-old plants, they produced fairly well. I mean, I didn't get an abundance of blueberries, but they did produce pretty well. And these plants are already bigger than the ones down there that are 2 years older than these plants. So the extra sun and the pH really made a difference. Now another thing is I had powdery mildew on some of my plants this year. And I asked the folks up at Joyner Blueberry Farm about that. They suggested copper fungicide. I sprayed them this morning with copper fungicide, and that should help take care of the powdery mildew if you have that. But this is the first time I've had that problem since I've had blueberry plants. Another thing is birds. Birds can clean you out if you don't do something to keep the birds off your plants. Now last year I put these fiberglass stakes in my grow bags, and I put bird netting over that. But it's, I got plants that are this high now, and my plants weren't nearly that high last year, so I'm gonna have to do something a little different. If you got ideas or suggestions of something that's relatively inexpensive that I can cover my blueberry bushes without having the netting mash them down too much, let me know what you think. I'd love to know your ideas there. Now, 2 last tips I'll leave you with. I have drip irrigation on all my garden, and I run a separate irrigation line up through here just for my blueberry bushes. These are the drip lines that I put around, and then I haven't put those in there yet because it's a little early in the season yet, but I'll probably get those set up first of the week. But the blueberry plants will dry out quick, and especially in these grow bags. During the heat of the summer, you need to water these things. If you got them in grow bags like this, at least every other day. If it gets really hot, you may have to water them every day. So the drip irrigation really makes that a lot easier. And another thing is, if you notice under the grow bags, I got little pallets. And I did that intentionally, and I sized my pallets when I built them so that the forks on the front of my tractor could pick them up. So if I need to move these grow bags, I don't have to pick them up manually. I mean, I can, but I'm getting old too. And I can just pull my tractor over here, pick that pallet up, move that whole bush anywhere I want to. And it's not so much that I might want to move it around my yard, but what if I sell my house? Not really planning to, but if I did, I could just take my tractor, pick those up, set them on a trailer, and take them to my new house, and I don't have to dig anything up to move it. So that's another couple little quick tips for your blueberries. So that's about it for my experience with the blueberries. So if you got, like I said, if you have comments or suggestions or anything, I'd love to hear from you. So at this point, I'd just like to say thank you for visiting Do It Yourself with Wayne, and we hope you have a great day.